Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Gary Whittle. I'm a trustee of the Rugby League Museum Society of New Zealand, and today I'm interviewing Kiwi 609 and Warrior number 9, Duane Mann. I will start off with giving you a synopsis of Duane's career, which is actually, when you listen to it, it's really fascinating. Over the years, Duane played 212 games for the Glenora Bears. That was from 1986 to 2002. From 1989 to 1993, he played 124 games for Warrington. In 1994, he played 23 games for North Harbour. He was an inaugural member of the Auckland Warriors in 1995 and played 13 games. In 1996, he played 15 games for Counties Manukau, which actually made a total of 397 games, and he scored 91 tries and kicked 1 goal. And with his representative career from 1986 to 2000, he represented Tonga, played 16 games. In 1987 to 1999, played 65 games for Auckland, and in 1989 was selected for the Kiwis, where he played 24 consecutive tests, including matches that formed part of the 1989 to 1992 World Cup, and ended up playing 29 games for the Kiwis. In terms of Duane's overseas playing, Duane, you played for Warrington, where you were defeated by Wigan in the 1990 Challenge Cup final at Wembley. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, tēnā koe, malora rei, Gary. What do I remember about the Challenge Cup final? Wembley, walking on Wembley was everything I sort of dreamt it would be, when we're back here and, watching Wembley finals as youngsters and, but yeah, more so as sort of senior players and seeing the great Wigan team run out there. And, so for me to get a chance with Warrington and go through that knockout format to get to Wembley, for players when they've been in major grand finals, the week can feel like it either goes slow or fast. That week seemed to go fast.
You got your revenge the following year, where you played hooker for Warrington in their 12-2 victory over Bradford Northern. That must have been just an amazing game and an amazing feeling afterwards.
Yeah, it was. Regal Trophy and Wembley, historic trophies, big one. If you want to win trophies, winning the championship and a premiership is gold, but Regal Trophy and Wembley. The one about Wembley is the crowd size had the stadium had been reduced from, was back in the day it was 100,000 plus would fit into the stadium. When I played there, it was only like 75,000. But in a massive stadium, and the Regal Trophy final that was at I can't remember if we played that at Bradford or where we played that, but two great sides, and lots of English, great British players in the opposition sides.
Yeah. And of course, something else you did at Warrington, you played against that great 1990 Australian side when they toured Great Britain.
Yeah, it was. I was lucky when I was over in England. I didn't miss any games, but going into that one, I rolled my ankle in a weekend game, so I wasn't at sort of fully fit. But when you come against the Australians and you're not at your best, you know you're doing tough. But we also Mike Gregory was our captain at Warrington, and Des Drummond was on our wing, both Great Britain internationals. We had those players, and to play against a stacked Aussie team midweek, we didn't win, but the Warrington crowd at the old Wilderspill certainly came out, big crowd, and a good game.
So back to your Kiwi days, when you got selected in 1989, who was the first team you played against as a Kiwi in 1989?
It was at Rotorua I made my debut at the venue, and it was the second test match after the first test match. Kiwis had lost their game, but Tank Gordon was the coach. Made a few changes. There was myself and I think 4 others who came in for that, and I think, I can't remember the scoreline, 10-8, 12-10, something like that.
Who did you play against that?
It was against Australia. It was against Australia. And, for that one, with my mother being and all the family around Rotorua, Tokarua, Mangakino, was easy for everyone to get to. And, that was a tough game, that one. We were unlucky not to win that game.
That leads me to the next part of the interview. Your background, you've just mentioned. Mum down there, say you're of Maori and Tongan descent. Mum Maori, and of course your father, Duane, also represented New Zealand. Your father, and I guess we'll go a bit further, you were part of the Man Mafia, as they were called back then, was George. Would you like to just expand on that for us, people that may not be aware of what happened 20 odd years ago?
Yeah, and probably even longer than that, actually.
30.
But we're a rugby league family. As you mentioned, my father, he came up through the rugby league system here in Auckland. Mum and Dad, we used to live in Greyland, in Ponsonby. With my older brothers being born and raised out there, I was brought up in West Auckland. But Dad played for Glenora for a year, but in his junior footy was around the Ponsonby area, and carved out a long career, successful career with Ponsonby. But he's Kiwi 492. Went on a couple of tours, and he's one of the greats of the game. My uncle George, from Tonga, a lot of the Tongans, and at that time were rugby union. But when the family migrated out here in 1945, 1947, Uncle George was able to settle down and make friends with everybody, and became a stalwart of the Mungan East club, where my cousins and other family members of the Mann family have made their mark. But Mum Māori, Ngā Te Kahununu, Ki Wairoa, Ngā Te Ruapani, Tūhoi, and large Māori family across Wairarapa. And a mix of the family there on our Hema side is rugby and league, loving both. But I say more league than rugby.
And of course, Don, your brother, he was played rugby league, but he was involved in the Warriors management for a number of years.
Yeah, he was. Don Junior. He carved out a successful career in management. Right up at the senior executive level with the Warriors. He also did a stint here with New Zealand Rugby League. I spent 13, 14 years in the police force, like yourself, Gary, a long time there. But my 2 older brothers, Richard and Heta, also played rugby league all the way through Glenora, and my younger brother, Bart, we all played at Glenora, and Bart also played for Tonga as well.
Yeah, so talking about Glenora, you captained and won 3 successive Fox Memorial Championships with the Bears, 97, 98, 99, which they haven't done again. That's just amazing. What can you tell us about those heady days of the Glenora Bears?
Yeah, we had, that thing where everything works well, and it's no secret sauce or magic formula, but, when you get your back office, and so I mean the committee and the senior committee and some of the old boys at the club, the coaching staff and the management staff, and then we had just a real talented bunch of hard-working players in all those 3 years, some players, a few players played in all 3 of those Fox finals, but we're able to sort of have players come through and transition or join over time and win 1, 2, or 3 of those 6 years. So it
It was a combination of a lot of people, but we had the likes of, Aaron Conlon and Benny Lyth and Steve Buckingham, the Tamatoa brothers. There's so many Costa Milamatinos. There's just so many just Glenora local boys, but then also Cliff Beverley boys that were able to sort of junior few that were able to play and come through the Auckland scene. And Jonathan Hughes, Dal Hughes was the coach, and Dal's a great club man and was a great coach for us across the second years.
Your career is absolutely fascinating. You then debuted for Auckland in 1987 and played in their 30-14 win over Great Britain in 1988. What do you remember the days of playing for Auckland Rugby League back in the day, where it was a far bigger provincial competition than what we have today?
Yeah, well, my lens on the Auckland jersey and what playing for Auckland means is shaped through my dad, through him wearing the Auckland jersey. And, and they used to play a lot more. It was district footy too then, a lot more district footy. And so when you made the Auckland team, one, it was hard to get into. And when you played in the Auckland team, you played a lot more games than we do in the modern era part. But the other one too is the touring teams. Any touring teams from Australia, France, the UK. Auckland would always be, and Auckland has this long history of success. So, when I left school, I went overseas for 3 years and just mucked around. And while I was over there, my cousin George, who's the same age, and our good friends that we grew up with playing against each other, the Ropati boys and others, they were making headlines in the Auckland jersey. When I came back, I tried to make the Auckland team. I missed out the first year, but was able to get in a little bit later on. But I'd played Auckland footy as a junior in rep teams coming through the grades. So to put on a senior jersey, it was a massive sense of pride.
Yeah, I actually interviewed another great Glenora player some months ago, Eric Carson, and I made the comment that even back in his day, it was harder to make the Auckland team than at times to be selected with the Kiwis. You could be selected with the Kiwis, but you weren't good enough to play for Auckland. And that's what it was like, wasn't it, back there, with the amount of strength and players that we had?
Yeah, that's right. And, Cameron Bell and Owen Wright were coaches. A couple of the coaches at my time were in a senior Auckland jersey, so they know that history of the Auckland jersey. They know what it means, and so to play on Carlo Park, to train on Carlo Park, that whole thing about playing with guys that you'd bash up on, or they'd bash me up on the weekend, and then you get to be teammates and go take on the enemy. That was something special. So yeah.
Once again, you've had an incredible history. Let's talk about the Tongan National Rugby League. They were first formed to compete in the 1986 Pacific Cup. What do you remember about that? That was your international debut, was playing for that team.
Yeah, it was around that time too when I came back from overseas, and this was the start of the '86 season, and I came back and there's this, the Pacific influence here in Auckland. What we see today. That rise of those families that migrated out in the mid '40s. Were holding positions in the rugby league clubs and rugby union clubs. So. And could see this growth of Pacifica players in the competition, and so the desire to have a Pacifica Cup and was many great people, families across different clubs, so that was key in getting the tournament off the ground, and Māori also too. With Māori being able to sort of be right at the front of that. Ray Williams was our first coach for the Tongan side, and my dad and Uncle George were one of the key people, along with many other the families here, the Briggs families, in putting it together a Tongan team. I would have loved to actually play for either the Māori or the Tongans, but being the Tongans' first team, and with my late cousin Warren Mann, and my cousin George.
And the influence from back there is now borne out in the NRL. With the amount of talented Pacifica we now have playing there, they're unbelievable.
Yeah, and it is, and it's great that the current crop of and in particular, like with Jason Domalongo and Sikamanu, who've been, and along with others, have been able to sort of take this professional player and get them onto this journey of proudly being able to represent their heritage and their parents and their grandparents. So Mate Matonga, the late Uncle George Mann came up with the Mate Matonga, and he's referred to as the godfather of Tongan Rugby League, and the modern game hold that. And Christian Wolf's done amazing things with this in coaching this Tongan team.
So you've really had an interesting career in Auckland. You played for the three provinces. You played for North Harbour, you played for Counties Manukau, and of course, firstly in Auckland. So, what's your memories about playing for North Harbour and Counties Manukau?
Yeah, well, part of that thing of wearing a Warriors jersey and signing up with the Warriors team, when I was over in England and met with John Mahoney, and I could have stayed in England and played and come back at the start of the 95 year, but I was told about this Lion Red Cup national competition and the provinces that my intention was to come back and play for Waitakere, but my negotiations with trying to stay in England and coming back, I came back quite late and the Waitakere roster was full. But Graham Norton was the coach of Harbour, and I'm a big fan of Natty, and there was Richie McIntosh and great other people around the North Harbour, and I thought to myself, geez, how cool will it be to play for another area apart from just Auckland. So I would have loved to play for Waitakere, where I'm born and raised. But played for Harbour. We went through and great. A young Joe Wagana, Tony Tatupu. Kenny McIntyre, Richard. There's so many. The Stewart brothers. That was a great team, and the competition was really great in its first year.
It was. So. And then how did you get involved with Counties Manukau after all this?
Yeah, well, that coming back in '94 was, I needed someone to play with, and this semi-professional Lion Red Cup was a way of playing for North Harbour. But then I played with the Warriors in '95, and the intention was that I'd play for the Warriors and retire out. But only managed to have the 1 year with the Warriors, and. So I decided, rather than go back to England in '97, and looking at where I was with my family and the things that I thought I'd do here post playing, playing for Counties Manukau was an attractive one. 96, it was about trying to balance out a career after footy. But then I thought, hey, how cool would that be to play for another franchise or another area of Auckland, and that was a great team with great, and got to play with my cousin Esso, and Clayton Friend was also in that team, and played with a great Clayton Friend.
That Lion Red Cup was the best competition New Zealand Rugby League ever ran at that time. It was just, I was involved on the judicial games managing side, and it was just a treat to go and watch you guys play every week. It was just the whole competition was just really well set up.
Yeah, it was, and across the different franchises, whether the Canterbury Bulls, great brand, or the Cardinals, it was then, but Wainui Mata, with the area, it was just great. Being Taranaki. It was a tough competition, and players coming from different parts of the region brought out the best of them. So a shame that it wasn't able to be sustained. But the model and the concept was good. And
finally, you finished playing for the national teams. You then have a stint at coaching in 2010 and 2011, the Bay Roskill Vikings. How was that coming back? Refereeing at grassroots level at Auckland Rugby League.
Oh, I don't know, coaching.
Coaching at
Well, I'd coached Glenora prior to Bay Roskell, and when you're in making your way through representative football and privileged and lucky enough to put on a Kiwi jersey and a Tongan jersey and so forth, but you're surrounded by great leaders within the teams and get that exposure with coaches. So. To go back and tip in and help at my junior club, Glenora, that was great. And then took a break for a couple of years, and then my dad used to coach Bay Roskell, and so what I would have loved to do is actually at some stage go and play and coach with Ponsonby, where Dad played and coached. But Bay Roskell, they financially, haven't been strong for a long time, but they're great people. Just so many, great people down there, and they were in second division, and and had a great young team, really good people there with Colin and Tanya Brown, of course, the late Mike Smith, with stalwart of the club. Many good people at Bay Roskell. So you really enjoyed a couple of years there and helping Bay Roskell, to get to Sharman finals and give themselves a chance in the Fox.
Something I did fail to mention that getting back to Tonga, well, in fact, you captained both the 1995 and the 2000 team in the World Cup tournaments. That must have been a proud moment for you and your family.
Yeah, it was. It was, you hear many players when they talk about, or coaches, and they talk about their career, some things you can control, but sport's dynamic. In fact, it's organised chaos. And, you've got to be able to sort of just be at peace with that and be able to sort of go through your career and ride the ups and downs and make the best of what comes. And, 1995, I missed out on Kiwi selection for the World Cup, but the opportunity to play with Tonga came about, and it was just I was grateful for it, and with my cousin George also too, and my uncle George and my uncle Vahui, we just had a great team of players either on their journey into representative football. And then transitioned out to play for Australia or the Kiwis, where I was coming from the other way. And then, I was just playing amateur football back here in Auckland, but we'd won as you mentioned, with the Fox 3 years with Glenora. So that just led me to say, hey, yeah, I'll stick around. And in 2000, the body was good. I didn't have any injuries, I was lucky enough to still be considered to play for Tonga at the 2000 World Cup and captain them.
So, and you're still involved in rugby league. What's your current position with the Auckland Rugby League at the moment, Duane?
Yeah, current position is general manager, clubs and partnerships. And, the last 7 or 8 years, I really haven't looked at rugby league. I've just been working on my golf handicap and and my surfing and being a pest at home. But, look, again, great. Any time to work in rugby league full-time, I'm grateful and in a privileged position. Over the years I've worked for New Zealand Rugby League, the Warriors and Auckland Rugby League. So I know what I was getting myself into and working with sport and in rugby league. It's a game that we all love, and there's lots of challenges with the role, but there's also again lots of opportunities as we take the game forward not just a professional game, but a way that really meets and serves the needs of people and the clubs on the ground, and how we make our club stronger.
Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the life and times of Kiwi 609, Duane Mann. Duane, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. It really has. Thank you very much for giving your time up today.
Pleasure's mine, Gary. Thank you.